Libra love, if you're a woman who sleeps alone at night, this message is not a coincidence, it's a sacred wake-up call from the universe. You're not alone because something went wrong. You're alone because something divine is being made right. Whether you're single, divorced, widowed, or temporarily apart from your partner, what matters is not why you're alone but what is happening during those quiet nights. The universe has placed you in this space, not to punish you but to prepare you. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is not just a horoscope. It's an energetic transmission, a soul reading tailored for the Libra woman who is ready to come home to herself and to love again, but this time, fully aligned. Have you been feeling a shift lately? A strange stillness in the night? A sense that something is changing beneath the surface of your reality? If so, you are absolutely in the right place. What you're about to hear will explain why your solitude is sacred. Why the bed that feels empty is actually filled with divine activity. Why your quiet heart is being rewired to beat with a different rhythm, one that only matches love that is equal, respectful, and real. Because Libra, you are the sign of balance. You've spent your whole life trying to maintain harmony, sometimes by sacrificing parts of yourself just to keep the peace. But not anymore. The universe has stepped in to realign your inner scales, not through chaos but through clarity. And clarity comes in silence. It comes at night. It comes when you're alone. And I want you to know this: you are not broken, waiting to be fixed. You are being refined. You are becoming the kind of woman who attracts, not chases. Who magnetizes, not pleads. Who receives love not because she needs it but because she finally understands her worth. So let me take a moment and say thank you truly for being here. Every like, every comment, every subscription to this channel expands the energy of this sacred circle. Your support keeps this message alive, and it allows us to keep sharing these truths with women like you, women who are no longer willing to settle for almost love. Libra, your presence here tells me you're ready. You're not just listening for entertainment. You're listening because your soul is preparing for something more. And if you stay with me through this message, I promise you by the end of today's reading, you'll understand exactly why you've been walking alone. And exactly what is coming next. As it is whispered in the sacred texts, no time spent in patience, in dignity, in silent hope ever goes unnoticed by the divine. You haven't been forgotten. You've been chosen for a different kind of preparation. And now, I want to hear from you. Comment below with the number 6 if you feel that this message is touching a truth inside you. Let it be your declaration that you are ready for love, but this time only the kind that meets you where you truly are. Are you ready to discover why your nights alone are part of your greatest transformation yet? Stay with me, Libra. The story is just beginning. Some journeys begin not with a loud event, but with a subtle shift, something quiet, almost invisible to the outside world. For the Libra woman, sleeping alone may seem like a pause, an absence, or even a loss. But beneath the stillness, something powerful is being reorganized. In astrology, Libra is the keeper of balance, the bridge between extremes, the harmonizer of chaos. Your natural instinct is to be with, to connect, to partner. And that's precisely why solitude, for you, is not an empty space, it's a sacred recalibration. Each night you lie in bed alone, your energy field begins to soften and clarify. You're no longer reacting to the constant push and pull of external energies. Without needing to absorb the moods or expectations of others, your true emotional rhythm begins to emerge again. You may not notice it right away, but the changes are profound. Your breath slows. Your nervous system resets. Your intuition strengthens. What once seemed like emotional disarray begins to take shape into something coherent, a personal truth that may have been buried beneath years of compromise. This is not punishment. It's preparation. Because love, true love, cannot flourish in a soul that is divided against itself. And for many Libra women, relationships have often come at the cost of silencing one part of themselves to preserve peace with another. But real harmony does not require your silence. It requires your wholeness. That is what this chapter is calling forth. There's a reason why you've been pulled inward now. Life has a way of clearing the room before something meaningful arrives. And during this clearing, the mind may say, "You're missing out," or "You've been left behind." But the deeper wisdom knows, you're being made ready. What's happening to you energetically is a form of renewal. Just as the body repairs itself during sleep, your emotional and spiritual selves are healing during this season of solitude. The noise of external validation fades, and in that silence, you begin to remember who you are when no one is watching, when you're not performing, not proving, not negotiating for love. You return to the truest version of yourself, the one who doesn't ask, "What do they want from me?" but instead asks, "What do I truly want?" And here's the quiet truth few ever speak aloud. Sometimes, love does not come to find us until we finally love being with ourselves. Not in a performative way, but in the honest, soft, restful way that says, "I am safe here. I am enough here." That's the kind of home the universe builds when it places you in the sanctuary of your own space. It's important, too, to understand that wisdom often arrives wrapped in waiting. The Creator does not rush refinement. Like a gardener tending soil before the seed, there is a sacred patience in this process. Not because you are being tested, but because what is being formed within you is valuable. And valuable things are never rushed. As you move through these nights, you are not alone, you are accompanied by your own unfolding. You are stepping into alignment with the kind of love that mirrors, not drains. A love that meets you, not rescues you. A love that begins first with reverence for your own essence. Let yourself soften into this time. Let your breath deepen and your heart speak. And if at any moment you feel unsure, remember, you were never abandoned. You were called inward to discover the one relationship that changes everything, the one you have with yourself. That's where true balance begins. And that is where real love finds its way in. There comes a moment in the stillness when something subtle begins to shift, not around you, but within you. And Libra, in this quiet transformation, the universe isn't just asking you to pause. It's recalibrating your deepest energies, specifically the feminine essence that defines so much of your emotional rhythm, intuition, and magnetic presence. You may have thought you were just moving through a season of solitude, but what's truly happening is a realignment of how you receive, express, and protect your energy. Being ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and refinement, Libra is often associated with the gentler qualities of connection, grace, compassion, and the pursuit of balance. But Venus carries another current too, one not often spoken about. It's the current of discernment, of sovereignty. Venus teaches not only how to love, but how to love wisely. And right now, you are stepping into the part of her that says, I no longer give all of myself to what does not return to me. That's the quiet revolution taking place inside of you. One that doesn't require noise or confrontation but rather, clarity. You'll notice that your tolerance for situations that once drained you has begun to disappear. Things you used to excuse now feel unbearable. People you once chased now feel misaligned. It's not because you're becoming cold, it's because you're becoming clear. And that clarity is the highest form of self-respect. In this recalibration, your emotional boundaries begin to take shape not from fear, but from wisdom. You are not closing off, you are refining who gets access to the softest parts of you. And that's not just growth, it's sacred protection. Your energy is no longer scattered or stretched to prove your worth. Instead, it begins to center inward, creating a gravitational field that draws in exactly what resonates and quietly repels what does not. This shift in vibration is something we see echoed in the archetype of the High Priestess in Tarot. She is silent, but not passive. She knows, not because someone told her but because she listens deeply. She doesn't react, she recognizes. And so are you, Libra. Your intuition is no longer a whisper you ignore. It's becoming the compass by which you move. Every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to what's finally in alignment with your truth. You may feel the world asking you why you've become more distant, more discerning, more selective. Let them ask. The answer isn't one you need to explain. You are moving from validation to vibration, from chasing peace to being peace. This is the part of the journey where you become the kind of woman who no longer looks for worth in how others see her, but in how she honors herself. And perhaps that's one of the greatest lessons from above, not that we should give endlessly without reflection, but that love, to be real, must include respect. And respect begins with you. The sacred texts remind us in quiet ways, those who walk in truth will walk in peace, and peace cannot exist where self-abandonment lives. So if your world has gotten quieter lately, if your circle has gotten smaller, or your heart has gotten more discerning, take it as confirmation, not that you're doing something wrong, but that you're finally doing something right. You're no longer just lovingary, choosing how to love, who to love, and when to let love in. This, Libra, is what true balance looks like. Not pleasing everyone, but finally choosing yourself. Some of the most profound lessons in love don't arrive in moments of passion or fairy tale romance, but in quiet realization. You begin to notice the places where you've made yourself smaller, quieter, or more accommodating than your soul was ever meant to be. Libra, your nature is one of harmony. You're the peacemaker, the one who listens, who smooths over the edges, who softens the impact for others. But there's a line that even the most graceful heart must learn to draw, the one that separates true connection from quiet self-abandonment. This chapter in your journey is not just about healing. It's about remembering how to love without erasing yourself. How to show up for someone without disappearing. It's a fine balance, one that takes deep emotional maturity to maintain. And now, you're being asked to master that balance from the inside out. You are learning that real love, lasting love, does not require you to trade authenticity for approval. The universe isn't just guiding you to feel more deeply. It's teaching you how to love wisely. That means knowing when to speak instead of swallowing your truth, when to forgive without absorbing someone else's emotional labor, and when to stay without shrinking. Love, in its healthiest form, is not the act of giving up your voice to maintain peace. It's the ability to express your needs with kindness and stand your ground with compassion. That's why boundaries are not barriers, they're invitations. Invitations for others to meet you at your level of integrity. You may have grown up believing that love means always saying yes, always being flexible, always showing up no matter how little is returned. But wisdom shows us another way. The more you honor your own limits, the more you allow others to show you who they really are. This is not about blame. It's about responsibility, the kind that begins with self. Loving without losing yourself means letting go of guilt for choosing what nourishes you. It means releasing the belief that saying no to someone else is a betrayal when, in truth, it's an act of protection for the most sacred relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. In this period, you're not just reclaiming your voice. You're rewriting your personal definition of love. You're choosing to love in a way that includes you, not just them. And that choice will open doors to relationships that are deeply mutual, where both people hold space for each other to grow without judgment, control, or imbalance. Pay attention to how the number 6 begins to show up for you. In numerology, it's the vibration of harmony, home, and unconditional love. It reminds you that love does not have to come at the expense of your well-being. It can and should be the very space where your light is protected and encouraged to grow. Let your relationships begin to reflect what you now know to be true, that peace with someone else is never worth losing peace with yourself. The wisdom that whispers through this season is simple yet powerful. Love is not something you chase. It's something you create by standing fully in who you are and letting that be enough. And if you ever forget, just remember what the gentle voices of grace often teach us: real love recognizes you. It doesn't require explanation. It doesn't need you to shrink. It sees you, holds you, and honors you just as you are. That's the kind of love you're being led toward. And it starts with the love you choose to give yourself, beginning now. There's something remarkable that begins to happen when a Libra woman stops trying to restore balance outside herself and realizes she already is the balance. This is not about becoming detached or self-contained in a cold way. It's about recognizing that you no longer need someone else's presence, energy, or approval to feel whole. You are the scale now, not something waiting to be leveled by another. And with that realization comes a quiet kind of power. At this stage, you're no longer driven by the need to fill a void. You're not reaching out from emptiness but choosing from fullness. And because of that, your relationships start to shift dramatically. You're no longer asking, "Who will complete me?" You're asking, "Who is worthy of standing next to all that I've built within?" This shift is subtle, yet profound. It's the energetic difference between seeking to be chosen and choosing from a place of self-respect. In astrology, Libra's symbol, the scale, is often misunderstood as a need for someone else to create harmony. But what it really represents is the capacity to embody harmony. It's the ability to weigh all things, including your emotions, boundaries, and values, and to act from alignment rather than reaction. That's the version of you that's emerging now. You don't need a partner to stabilize your world, you've stabilized it yourself. And that's why, for perhaps the first time in a long time, being alone doesn't feel like a sentence, it feels like a preference. It's not about closing your heart, it's about honoring it. You've come to understand that intimacy is not just proximity. True connection requires depth, reciprocity, and respect. And now that your energy is calibrated from within, you're drawing in people and opportunities that reflect your newfound strength. This is also a time when the universe begins to align your external world with your internal growth. You may notice you're no longer attracting the same dynamics or patterns you once did. That's not an accident. Your vibration has changed. Your standards have shifted. And the world around you is responding. Color can be a powerful tool during this phase of expansion. Pastel pink is a gentle yet potent frequency. It softens the heart while reinforcing emotional safety. Olive green supports clarity and peace of mind, especially for those moments when your inner compass is being recalibrated. And gold, that radiant light of self-worth and dignity, reflects the energy of sovereignty. Wear it, surround yourself with it, and let it remind you that you are no longer hoping to be seen, you are claiming your space. In this space, love becomes something sacred again, not transactional, not temporary, but a shared frequency between two whole beings. You no longer feel the need to prove, persuade, or perform. You know that what is meant for you will recognize your worth without you having to translate it. The beauty of this evolution is that it empowers you without isolating you. You're not cutting people off, you're simply becoming more intentional about who gets to experience your presence. And that's not pride, it's wisdom. Just as you wouldn't place a priceless artifact where it could be mishandled, you now understand that your heart is sacred, too. As one timeless truth reminds us, those who honor what they carry within don't have to chase what is already aligned. So let this be your reminder, Libra. You are not seeking balance anymore. You are the balance. And anyone who steps into your life from this moment forward must rise to meet it. Sometimes, just when you begin to feel grounded in your new energy, life starts to move again. The universe, in its quiet orchestration, knows exactly when to open the next door, and that moment for you, Libra, is now. Over the next 30 days, you may find yourself receiving more invitations than usual. Messages from people you haven't heard from in a while. Sudden romantic opportunities. Unexpected job offers or networking moments that feel strangely fated. And it will feel exciting. Some will even sparkle with possibility. But here's the deeper truth: not everything that glitters is aligned. And this is the part of your journey where your ability to discern will matter more than ever. What you're stepping into now isn't just about receiving, it's about selecting. And selection, true selection, comes not from the mind's logic, but from the body's truth. When you've done the work to recalibrate your energy and you have your nervous system becomes one of the most honest tools you'll ever use. It will tell you everything you need to know, sometimes before words are even exchanged. A contraction in your chest. A sudden pressure in your gut. A quiet sense of discomfort you can't quite explain. These are not red flags to ignore. They are divine whispers reminding you, your body remembers things your mind is still learning to trust. That's why, moving forward, it's important to check in not just with how things look on paper but with how they feel in your presence. Ask yourself quietly, without judgment, do I feel safe in this space? Do I feel expansive in their presence? Am I respected here without needing to explain or shrink? If you find yourself dimming your light just to make someone else comfortable, take that as guidance, not guilt. You're not being too much. You're just finally tuned in enough to know what just enough really feels like. This next chapter is less about finding something new and more about not settling for what doesn't align. You've done the work. You've redefined your worth. You've stopped reaching for crumbs, and now, your energy only resonates with tables that serve the whole meal. That doesn't mean you won't be tempted. Some opportunities will arrive dressed as everything you used to want. But now you know the difference between hunger and wholeness. You're not chasing fulfillment anymore. You're curating a life that mirrors the love you've built within. And when doubt starts to whisper, because it may, remember this: the most powerful decisions are rarely urgent. Take your time. Trust your senses. You don't need to rush. If it's right, it won't run. That's one of the most gracious lessons embedded in every aligned opportunity. It gives you room to breathe. You see, what the universe is doing now is not testing you to see if you're worthy. It's giving you a stage to practice what you've learned about yourself. Every no that honors your peace is a yes to something far better. Every boundary you uphold becomes a magnet for people and opportunities that actually see you. Not for who you pretend to be. Not for what you can offer. But for the quiet, powerful balance you've become. Let that be your guide. Your alignment isn't fragile, it's sacred. And it's stronger than you think. When you meet someone, when you consider an offer, when you stand at the edge of a choice in the coming days, don't just ask if it excites you. Ask if it respects you. Ask if it honors the woman you've worked so hard to become. The woman who now chooses herself not because she's alone, but because she finally understands the power of her own company. And now, Libra, as we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to take a breath and let everything you've just heard truly settle into your body. You've come such a long way, not just in this reading, but in your life. Through moments of silence, through nights of solitude, through questions that had no immediate answers. And yet here you are, not broken, not behind, but blooming. Quietly. Powerfully. On your own terms. What if this whole time, the love you've been waiting for wasn't someone else's arrival but your own? What if the moment you stopped searching and started choosing was the moment everything began to change? You've been conditioned to think love has to be earned. Proved. Maintained through effort and compromise. But the truth is, real love doesn't ask you to perform. It meets you in your fullness. And now that you've come home to yourself, you've created the kind of space where only truth can stay. The kind of love that isn't built on fear of being alone but on the desire to grow with someone who sees you clearly and chooses you freely. So before you go, I want to gently ask you, who have you shrunk for in the past just to feel loved? Where in your life have you traded your peace for closeness? And what would it look like to never do that again? You see, Libra, self-worth is not just a concept. It's a daily practice. It shows up in what you tolerate. In what you say no to. In the energy you give your time, your body, and your heart to. Every choice you make is a vote for the kind of life and love you believe you deserve. So why not start now? You don't need to wait for validation. You don't need to keep proving that you're enough. You've already arrived. And the universe isn't just watching. It's responding. Every time you say, I choose myself, you send out a frequency that calls in something better. Something more aligned. Something that doesn't just look good but feels right. So if something in this message touched you deeply, if you felt seen, I invite you to take a moment and reflect with me. Write in the comments below, "I choose myself first, and love will follow." Let this be your declaration, not just to me, not even to the universe, but to your own soul. Let it echo through your energy field and call in the life you've always deserved. And if this video helped you shift something inside, don't keep it to yourself. Like it. Share it. Subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, because here, we're not just reading horoscopes, reawakening something ancient, something sacred, something true. The rise of women choosing themselves is not a trend. It's a movement. And Libra, you are part of it. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for trusting your timing. Thank you for trusting yourself. I'll be right here with you, every step of the way, whispering back what your soul already knows. You were never too much, never too late, never too far gone. You've always been the love you were looking for. And now you're ready to receive it in return.